basically, I might be shit, but this is his team. You know, it doesn't matter what people say. This is his team. Like, he gotta lead this because at the end of the day, like, for him to feel successful, you gotta feel very comfortable.
When the Milwaukee Bucks traded Grayson Allen, Drew Holiday, a 2029 first-round pick, and 2 unprotected pick swaps for Damian Lillard, the Milwaukee Bucks hit the lottery. And that's something that I'm going to stand on until this train completely runs off of its tracks. I don't care that Damian Lillard has struggled early on, because when you can trade a package that features Grayson Allen, Drew Holiday, and a handful of picks for one of the best point guards to ever play the game of basketball, you have to pull the trigger and worry about working the rest out later, and that's exactly what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing. In trading for Damian Lillard, the Milwaukee Bucks didn't just get Damian Lillard, they would also get a long-term commitment from Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was in search of any reason to stay. For the Milwaukee Bucks and their fans, anything good that happens this season has to feel like a big-time bonus, because they already got their championship, and they already got their commitment from Giannis. For the Milwaukee Bucks, the good times just keep on coming in. Now, while the Bucks have a duo that can absolutely terrorize the league, this same duo has to figure it out first. As things stand, they have some glaring problems that the dynamic performances of Giannis can only band-aid for so long. And we'll get into that in a moment, but first, if your financial goals feel out of reach, that doesn't mean that they actually have to be. Thanks to Chime's Secured Credit Builder Visa credit card, you can start building credit with your own money through on-time payments and small, everyday purchases. With Chime, when you're paying for groceries, a streaming service, or even gas, you could be building your credit. I know that a lot of you guys might think that a low credit score is no big deal, but if you're dealing with a low credit score or no credit score at all, then you're making your financial journey a lot harder than it needs to be. The older that I've gotten, the more that I've learned exactly how important it is to have good credit. Personally, I wish that I started building my credit score a lot sooner than I did, but you know what they say, there's no time like the present, and that's why Chime is giving us the opportunity to start improving our credit score right now. Members who use Chime see an increase of 30 points to their credit score on average. And get this, with Chime, there are no annual fees, interest, or credit checks needed to apply, and you can use Chime anywhere the Visa credit cards are accepted. Guys, signing up for Chime only takes 2 minutes, and it doesn't affect your credit score, so be sure to start your journey today and head on over to chime.com/coop. Again, that's chime.com/coop. Mandatory disclosure time. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stripe Bank and named member FDIC. Chime checking account $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply. Out of network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Late payment may negatively impact your credit score. Results may vary. So right now, you guys have to be wondering, what are some of these problems that I have been speaking so cryptically about? Well, for starters, the Milwaukee Bucks defense has been terrible. The Bucks defense has been so bad that Giannis scored 54 points on silly efficiency, going 19 of 25 from the field and 16 of 18 from the free throw line, and the Bucks still somehow managed to lose to the Indiana Pacers after scoring 124 points. Call me crazy for having this take, but if anybody on your team gives you 54 points with an 82% true shooting percentage, then you are supposed to win that game. At the time that I'm producing this content, the Milwaukee Bucks have the 25th ranked defense. That makes the once revered Bucks defense that was literally top 4 last season only currently better than the Washington Wizards, the Indiana Pacers, the Utah Jazz, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Charlotte Hornets. The Bucks being this bad on defense is pretty impressive when you consider the fact that this team has Giannis and Brook Lopez, who are great defenders when used properly. One of these guys is a 6'11 freak who covers more ground than cement while just so happening to be a former DPOY, and the other is a 7'1 anchor who has already had an 8-block game this season, and while he doesn't have a DPOY yet, he was in fact a runner-up for the award in the 2022-2023 season. So what happened to this one special Bucks defense? For starters, we've seen Adrian Griffin attempt to deploy a scheme that wasn't made for his team's roster. Defensively, Adrian Griffin wants a scrambling perimeter defense that pressures opponents into making mistakes, something similar to what the Raptors ran last year en route to becoming the 11th best defense in the league. The major difference between this year's Bucks and last year's Raptors is that last year's Raptors were a long and versatile team that were built for that system, while the Bucks are not, while also lacking cohesion and losing key defenders coming into this season. It's no secret, but the Bucks traded away who many players in the NBA regard as the league's best defender, and they traded this player away for a player who has been so bad defensively that Brad Bach in CBS said that this player has been playing some of the laziest, flat out worst defense of his career, and it's so bad that it's been borderline disgraceful at times. Guys, unfortunately for the Milwaukee Bucks, there's no way around it and there's no way to sugarcoat it. Damian Lillard has been abysmal on the defensive end. Look, I'm not here to say that the Damian Lillard trade wrecked the Bucks defense, but when you are forced to go into a season thinking that Malik Beasley is going to be successful in taking on the toughest assignments on most nights, that is a problem in itself. But enough of the negativity. So while the Bucks weren't necessarily built for Griffin's system, there is some cause for optimism. Griffin has shown a willingness to experiment as evidenced by Brook already starting to play way more drop coverage. And if you ask me, keeping the 7-1 guy who isn't the quickest or fastest at this stage of their career close to the basket is definitely the right move. On top of Griffin's willingness to adjust, the Bucks have the potential to piece together some really good defensive lineups once they figure things out. There's a guy by the name of Andre Jackson Jr. who Bucks fans are crazy about. They love his defense, tenacity, and his athleticism. There's also another guy who goes by the name of Marjan Beauchamp that I was very high on coming into the 2022 NBA draft. This guy has displayed massive two-way upside while also possessing a ton of potential. With an abdominal tear sidelining Jay Crowder for approximately 8 weeks, these two will now be faced with ample opportunity. So while Damian Lillard and the Bucks have needed time to adjust defensively, offensively Damian Lillard has needed the exact same thing, and the injuries can't be making this process any easier for him. So far in Milwaukee, we've seen both the highs with Damian Lillard going full Dame time in the season opener, dropping 39 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists while living at the free throw line. And so far, we've also seen the lows with Damian Lillard having a handful of games that were so bad that I couldn't even recognize him during them. You can't convince me that Dame was out there against the Atlanta Hawks. Against the Hawks, Dame would go 2 of 12 from the field, scoring 6 points and turning the ball over 6 times. Things have gotten so bad for Damian Lillard that at the time that I'm producing this content, he's only averaging 22.8 points while shooting 37% from the field and 26.9% from the three-point line. Saying that this man has had a hard time adjusting to Giannis and this Bucks team is an understatement. I guess the Dame's former head coach Terry Stotts leaving right before the season started actually turned out to be pretty important. Remember, he was supposed to be the mastermind behind this Bucks offense. There's a good chance that he could have made Dame's integration into this Bucks offense seamless, as he knows Dame better than anybody in the league and had the Blazers sporting the number 4 overall offense from 2012 to 2021. Although Dame has been missing a ton of good looks that he normally makes, at times he's looked hesitant and even lost on offense. Meanwhile, you have Giannis looking as good as Giannis has looked, which is almost ironic considering that when Dame arrived in Milwaukee, Giannis told Dame that the Milwaukee Bucks are his team. If you're a Bucks fan, even though you're falling short of sky-high expectations to start this season, you still have to be optimistic about what this team could look like at full strength. That is, unless you really do think that Damian Lillard for some reason has fallen off of a cliff and somehow one of the best shooters in the league is really a terrible fit with one of the league's most dominant players. Sure, this Bucks team is far from perfect, and they've also had other issues outside of their defense, like their rebounding not being consistent and too many turnovers, but I think that most of these things will work themselves out with time. When it comes down to it, the Bucks have as high of a ceiling as any team in the league. Mind you that at the end of the day, Adrian Griffin still is a rookie head coach that's learning everything on the fly. As I said earlier, it's important to notice trends, but it's also important to not overreact. With that being said, if you are a Bucks fan, let me know what you think of their current situation down in the comments below. What would you do to make it better? If I'm Milwaukee, I'm calling and seeing what the Bulls want for Alex Caruso to help fill that void that Jrue Holiday and Grayson Allen left defensively on the perimeter. Which honestly, I'm ducking as I say this, but I think that a lot of people underrated Grayson Allen's impact for that Bucks team. He's also looked great in Phoenix, but let me know what you guys think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GETLIKECOOP, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.